Welcome everyone here at the Banyan Tree bookstore and also here at ULT San Diego. And thank you all for coming, even though it was not that easy to get here today. Thank you for your sacrifice and your commitment and your enthusiasm. And today is a very special day for three reasons. One is there is the opening day of this bookstore. And this bookstore is going to be a bookstore, and it's kind of also morphing into a resource library. And interestingly enough, one of the people that was thinking about this with me a few years ago kept on insisting it's not only going to be a bookstore, but that person had an intuition, I think. But things are happening so that it's going to be an incredible library, we think, and also it'll have some archives that'll be available as rooms in different parts of this building open up, we think. So it's a very special day because of the bookstore and the resource library. And also, last but not least, is we are doing all this, the timing, in honor of the 150th anniversary of the modern Theosophical movement, inaugurated and initiated by H.P. Blavatsky and others. William Cohen Judge, Colonel Henry Steele Olcott, etc. And the 50th anniversary of the 1975 cycle, which many people felt in different ways in different lodges. But everyone that I've talked to has said that there was a resurgence and something very special in the air with the 1975 cycle. And so we will be looking retrospectively, but also equally ahead. So if we're going to be looking at something that happened 150 years ago, that's our challenge to think about the next 150 years. Or if we're going to think about 1975, that's our challenge to think about the next 50 years. But it's just interesting that this is kind of the exact point right in the middle between these 100-year cycles. So we all, thank you all very much for coming. I'm going to switch this over to a slideshow at this point. So the subtitle of today is Engaging Universal Trusteeship for the Future. This is our logo for the store. It was created by Sasha Colbert. And Monica. We are going to kind of mark the occasion by a reading from The Secret Doctrine.
So we'll get started. The ever-living human Banyan. The arhats of the fire mist of the seventh rung are but one remove from the root base of their hierarchy, the highest on earth and on our terrestrial chain. This root base has a name which can only be translated by several compound words into English: the ever-living human Banyan. This wondrous being descended from a high region, they say, in the early part of the Third Age, before the separation of the sexes of the third race, who, produced by Kriya Shakti, a progeny called the Sons of Ad, or of the fire mist, the sons of will and yoga. They were a conscious production, as a portion of the race was already animated with the divine spark of spiritual superior intelligence. It was at a first wondrous being called the Initiator, and after him a group of semi-divine and semi-human beings, set apart in archaic Genesis for certain purposes. They are those in whom are said to have incarnated the highest jnanis, munis, rishis from previous manvantaras, to form the nursery for future human adepts on this earth and during the present cycle. These sons of will and yoga, born, so to speak, in an immaculate way, remained, it is explained, entirely apart from the rest of mankind. Namaste. Thank you.
And now we'll hear Shobha Sharma.
I bow down to Dakshinamurti, Lord and teacher of all three worlds, who dexterously cuts asunder the painful shackles of birth and death, and who is to be deeply contemplated. Oh, the wondrous splendor beneath the banyan tree. There sits Guru Deva, a youth. The disciples are elders. The teaching is silence, and all doubts are dispelled. Shri Shankaracharya. Thank you.
So far, we've got seven goals. So the first one is to form a nucleus of universal acceptance, solidarity, and reverence in the service of all life. So that's a lot like the Theosophical Society and the Theosophical Movement's first object of to form a nucleus of universal brotherhood. The next one is to encourage the study of ancient and modern philosophy, religion, and science in the service of all peoples and the good earth. And the third is to realize and affirm the soul intuitions latent in all human beings and the great mysteries of nature, visible and invisible. The fourth is to provide a conducive environment for students to research, discover, and contemplate the perennial wisdom teachings of humanity. The fifth is to offer a community forum for uplifting lectures, workshops, study classes, discussion circles, storytelling, poetry readings, and musical performances to support the youth of all races, ethnicities, cultures, and religious backgrounds in their continuous growth in nonviolence of mind, generosity of heart, and harmony of soul. And finally, in terms of trusteeship, to attract and inspire forward-looking trustees of the library and bookstore's resources who will pass them on to the Aquarian beneficiaries of the future. So we're working for people that we haven't met yet, technically. There's all these souls waiting to come in. All right, so now we will spend a few minutes with our panel. And our panel is Tim Boyd. I think he just entered on to the Zoom. And Dr. Jean Jennings, and April Heshka-Eakins, and Ken Small, and myself. Now, why would that be the panel? This is a continuation of a different panel that happened in, was it July or August? Up in Vancouver. And so we're kind of putting the band back together here. So now, Tim, welcome very much. Thanks for being able to make it. Well, now with the panel up in Vancouver, Tim put that together, and so he pulled a bunch of us together. And one thing that Tim kind of lamented was that we only got to go for like 45 minutes. And you get like 5 Theosophists, and 45 minutes just isn't enough for 5 Theosophists. So it was supposed to be a little longer. And now I do remember, Tim, you asked a question, you can correct me if I'm wrong in terms of your memory of that, was that first it was like, you asked us one at a time, what got you into Theosophy? You know, some of us were born into it, some of us met somebody, and so forth. And Tim has a funny story about that. And then kind of the other questions were a little bit, tell us about your organizations, kind of what makes them tick, if I remember right. And and we all shared some ideas about that. And I had the feeling, Tim, if you had some more time to maybe ask the other members on the panel, if I could turn it over to you, were you going to kind of go deeper into this kind of the essence of the different organizations seeking to get to know each other?
Well, at the time that we were together, asked the question and was completely open to whichever way we wanted to take that one. So that still holds true.
Yeah. Ken's going to come on up here.
There he is.
Good. That's right. Now we're all on the camera. So one way or another. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time thinking about one of the themes of, because this panel session is called Learning from the Banyan Tree. And it seems that there's kind of three themes that I've been picking up here. One is interdependence, okay, with just the whole analogy of the banyan tree. Is anyone here can tell us just briefly what's the kind of the biology of a banyan tree? It's got different kinds of. Okay, Tim.
I mean, it's in the ficus family, so it's in the same family as the fig. So that's one thing. And then it
has the unique ability to send roots down.
That's right, from above.
From its branches, and then those roots that go down become trunks for trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that they live a long time seems to be something remarkable. And
it's an amazing tree.
Yeah.
It says an amazing tree, and it's a wonderful name you chose for what you're trying to do now. I mean, it's something that speaks to wisdom, to longevity, to all of the things that you really want when you're trying to think about spreading some knowledge or truth. So congratulations, by the way. I didn't get a chance to say that earlier.
Well, thank you. Well, it's pretty, it's not a big story yet. Speaking of Vancouver, we got to go to this other bookstore up there. Oh my goodness. It's called the Banyan Tree. And I'm not sure about why that would be spelled that way, but it's this huge bookstore with all kinds of books in it. It was, and then also the name is a little bit of a nod to the Bodhi tree, in LA. Remember that bookstore?
Oh yeah.
So, no, thank you, Tim, very, very much. In terms of the interdependence and some of your questions that you were asking up in Vancouver, I was wondering if we could just spend, we'll see how this goes, a little bit of time for the panel members to talk about the three main branches, I guess, of the Theosophical movement. Now, there's lots of limbs and branches and leaves and so forth, but what is the genius of the three? Like, what's the genius of the ULT? What's the genius of T.S. Adyar? And what's the genius of Point Loma? And it can be an ideal genius. It doesn't have to be what's actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So does, well, can I start with you, Tim? Because I never know when you're going to have to go in and help him out.
Well, I think the genius of all of these different, what we can call branches or expressions of the Theosophical Society, the genius is Theosophy. There is an ageless wisdom that has attracted everyone that's involved with any of these streams. And they're there because it's something that spoke to them at some deep level. And because of that, It's something that has brought people and ideas and influences on the world through its entire 150 years. You know, because we're at this 150-year juncture, of course, I have to find myself thinking a great deal about, you know, this flow of 150 years. And just like in Vancouver, to me, the idea of this theosophical, it's the idea of the theosophical movement within this one movement, this one attempt to express something, is where all of these different ways of seeing the one truth, that's where we all find ourselves. And so I think the genius of even the existence, let alone the thriving of any of us, has been that it's something that was foreseen as a need, and that vision wasn't incorrect.
Thank you very much. Could I just follow through on one thing? Going to Adyar, the campus there, there's all these different temples and shrines, and you just get the feeling that there's this incredible open-mindedness. Is that part of the genius of Theosophy?
Well, you know, I do like to give some caveats. I mean, for me, I have seen it so many times where people approach any of the organizations with very starry eyes and imagine it to be something other than a group of people who are there because they recognize that there are things to work on. So to expect it to be very, very different at that level, I've seen a lot of people just kind of lose contact because of that. You have to keep your eye on the prize, as they used to say.
Yeah, thank you for that. How about you, Dr. Jennings? Do you have any thoughts about the genius of any of these three groups and or of the whole movement?
Please, just Gene.
I knew you were going to say that.
and that's pushing it. Okay, so, but I mean, you know, basically what you guys have been saying is that, I mean, everyone had to have heard the call, number one, in whatever way. To me, part of the genius of the movement is the individual freedom that exists to be or not to be. And there are no limits on what the ocean of theosophical teachings sets. And so we can drown ourselves in that ocean that prepares us to the best of our ability resonate with that one truth. And yet the other piece of that individual freedom is the universal responsibility for all of life. And that's kind of a tougher one because we can do little things every day, but there's still something inside perhaps that calls for something greater, no matter how much we do. And as the teacher says, they don't ask for anyone to do more than they can. And yet, perhaps when you're in that stream, we always believe we can do more. So that spirit that is behind that movement is a great one. And so the genius, again, lies in the individual, the collective, and the universal.
Okay, thank you. April? What do you think is the genius of the Theosophical movement?
Well, I think the brilliance of the principles that you presented, those 7 principles, are quite wonderful. And I think there's so many ways to to accomplish that. Now, our little group, Alexandria West, is an independent group. And Jerry and I, for as long as 30 some years, we related to all the groups. This reminds me of the Banyan Tree. And so we were part of all the groups. And at the same time, when we moved to Central California, we decided because every group has a shadow side. So it's easy for groups to get off the trail, so to speak, over time, and let their egos take over and get in power struggles and all that kind of stuff. So we just wanted a place where people could come and really study theosophy. And my husband Jerry was big networker movement guy way back in the 80s, and up in Ojai, he held a big networking group, and he had the heads of all the different groups, ULT, and the TS in America. He even had Manly Hall come up, and it was a wonderful, wonderful conference to show the different the shoots of the movement come together. And these heads of these organizations hadn't talked to each other in decades. And so for them to come together and begin to talk to each other, that's networking. And so we always tried to promote networking as long as we could. And I can see it's really unfolding very well now with us coming together like this. I think it's great. And we need to keep doing it to be independent, but at the same time connected to each other and to these enterprises as we go through the rest of our life. And I like the idea of the end of the cycle. We've really got to pull it together. Times are really bad right now, at least in the U.S. It's pretty bad. So it's an opportunity for us to work in harmony with each other and try to work towards whatever works for us, network some more with people, and change it into something practical on the outside as well as with each other. In any capacity that works for us individually or as in organizations. I just give you an example. One of the groups we have now, we've always had a mythology group because it's very easy to study ancient myth and see the symbolism and the imagery, etc., in mythology. And often that brings people in to want to study deeper cosmological ideas and that kind of thing. So this year we decided to study Joseph Campbell, if you remember Joseph Campbell, in the 80s. And Joseph Campbell said that we need a new mythology for the present era, quite a bit like the wonderful quotes that you gave on Raghavan Iyer, is the kind of future we need. And because we need a new perspective. He says the old myths don't fit us right now. We have all this technology. We have all this threat in the world of letting, we're in the Kali Yuga, the materialization of things take over. So, what can we do? And I think a lot of the things you identified are ways we can go. One of them was to create this kind of small community interconnection with each other on a sort of esoteric level, and on an exoteric level, we need to inspire people to, as things begin to fall apart more and more, create new communities that are in harmony with nature. So my suggestion for a new mythology is that we see the planetary global nature of humanity, because that's where we're at, and that we work in harmony with nature, all the kings of nature. I mean, at Point Loma, as you pointed out, Ken, they did a beautiful job of doing that. And we need to somehow work with each other and work with the disarray of society as it falls apart to have a new vision that we're all interconnected according to those principles. that you articulated earlier. They're beautiful principles, and they're universal principles. So any way that we can work together, but also convert it into practical ways in our own community to work towards this interconnection, this respect and support for all beings, and to work in harmony with nature. I think that's the way that the new mythology is going to unfold, is on a planetary level and working in an interconnected way with each other, with all the kingdoms of nature. So that's sort of my vision for a new mythology, and we can be kind of part of that movement through our theosophical principles. Better stop.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Ken, do you have any thoughts on the genius of
Just
yeah,
all the above. Yeah, bringing the I'll just add on all the above, and then the continuing on from April and Tim's and Jean's comments, how to bring it into our practical ground is always and fit the current time going forward is a great challenge always. I think some of the gifted periods of transition in the past, we can see examples of where in theosophical history this happened in all the groups. They were able to meet the conditions of the time and very seamlessly, and there was a lot of energy and creativity. So innovating, new ways, not always easy. You have to break through some old patterns sometimes, and find new ways of expression, new ways of innovation, new ways of manifesting. Cut through, I think just events and gathering like this in a small way helps cut through old what's the word, all resistances and tendencies that between groups in the past, which is dissolving more and more. So this is very beneficial. Yeah, planting seed time for the next, looking forward. And I think one of the hindrances in theosophy can be looking backward too much. So we have to derive from the past with a forward-looking vision.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any follow-throughs on the panel? Just that they wish they would have said something about. Okay. I was thinking about.
I do add something.
Yeah, go ahead, April. Go for it.
Well, I add that I've seen some pretty really good programs, usually PBS, about the future and how things can be done in a positive way. And an example of it, I think it was called History of the Future. That was one of the programs, but there's other ones that are on. And what they did is they went around the world and they saw examples of where things were succeeding in an innovative way. This futurist young guy. And an example was in Scotland, there was a community falling apart, an old village, and they decided as a village to reconstruct the buildings and the community together, and they worked on it together. And then they decided that they were out of kilter with the environment. So the two things they did that I think are absolutely incredibly important are that they did this interactive thing where they, in small communities, where they improved it, and then they worked to make what they did harmonize with the environment. They cleaned up their act with the environment, and they gave example after example of places in the world where they're trying this. So it isn't completely a foreign idea to work to develop small communities and improve our interconnection with nature. as we do it. Those, I think, are the two big principles.
Thank you very much. Yeah, let's go ahead and let the audience jump in here, and please, any one who's on this panel, respond to the audience question or comment. Laura, why don't you go ahead?
In response to what was indicated, that nature responds very quickly when we start to turn things around. And Jane Goodall came to here in Canada to Sudbury a year and a half ago. And because this area was completely decimated by acid rain, it was just bare rock. Now, when you look out, you see mixed forest of birch and pine and oak. And it's quite beautiful. So nature will heal. And a plaque, she put up a plaque with and planted the 1,000th tree, because they said that we had planted 1,000,000 trees. So within, I guess it'd be less than 50 years, it's completely transformed the landscape. And this is happening globally, not just here, but around the globe. And nature responds very quickly.
Thank
So
you, Laura.
thank you.
Anyone on the panel want to respond to that or piggyback onto that? Tim, I'm not sure if you're able to watch that video that we played of the rescuing and the restoration of the Lahaina banyan tree. But I'll just review it real quick. Basically, a friend of mine who grew up in Hawaii, and then he was in the Santa Barbara ULT Lodge for many decades. But over the last, I think, 20 years, he moved back to Hawaii. But remember the Maui Lahaina banyan tree, just burning to a crisp, basically. And we watched a 12-minute video of just, first of all, how much it meant to him, but also the rescuing of the tree. And he just had to go there and do something about it. And he and others put together water trucks, and they started simulating the rainforest environment. And then he got a tree expert there, and he had some ideas on what to do. But just through constant care and sacrifice and effort, that they were able to bring that banyan tree back to life. And it's like it's a remarkable image, because the Lahaina still is very not rebuilt. It's just like a big wasteland still. But then there's that Lahaina banyan tree right there in the middle of it, just all green and just doing fine. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of review that for a minute. So it's a really heartwarming, if not tear-jerking story of that, the rescuing of that tree. So, is there anything in the video that comes to mind in terms of analogy or just any kind of impressions, maybe first from the panel, about what we can do with the Theosophical movement, for example, that film and Laura's example just now might suggest? There's two raised hands, yeah.
I just repeat again what I did a little earlier. In the video, he mentions the myth story of Kabir, the mystic Indian poet, really great poetry translated by Robert Bly. I mentioned maybe to read, everyone may know. But that, the myth is Kabir dropped a toothpick in India, and a huge banyan tree grew there. But I think everyone can remind ourselves, we're all Kabir with toothpicks. So what is planted, like looking back in the history of the broad scope of wisdom traditions evolving in the West in the last 150 years, and within the Theosophical movement the last 150 years. This is 50 people. If you take them away, it wouldn't have happened. That's all. And none of them knew they were toothpicks at the time. They were just doing their thing. So everyone is Kabir with planting the toothpick to the banyan tree.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the other thing that's kind of very moving about that, and it's right along the same lines, is the power of initiative. Is that there's always initiative, and right when we think that we don't have a choice, or that we're helpless, or that somebody else will take care of things, Cliff in that video, he just got in there and started doing something, and he probably didn't have a whole plan, but he thought, I'm going to do something. But then the plan started, unfolding.
Mhm.
So,
And then the people he needed
Yeah.
arrived, all like spontaneous, interdependently. He just started pouring water on the trees, and then
yeah,
then the details needed to really work with it.
yeah.
Yeah, it was very beautiful.
And then there was that global network thing going on. What was that about? I didn't.
Well,
Yeah, the arborists.
they have the great gadget to monitor the sap in the tree. I want one.
Yeah, right. So,
Can I be a party pooper?
Go ahead.
for it.
Well, I'm thinking about. Oh, I'm sorry, we're getting a little shaking and thunder here.
Is that a message, Gene?
Yeah, I think so, because it wasn't there a minute ago, I swear. But and it was loud. So, but I'm thinking of several things. I'm thinking of what HPB said about changing the minds and hearts of humanity in light of the tree. Because if the hearts and minds would change, the trees would be taken care of as everything else. And I'm also thinking about the Ashwata tree in the Gita and the importance of that with the truths above, as well as, similar to the Banyan, sending those roots below, also within the same couple of paragraphs of the Gita. And then I'm thinking about trees in general in light of the Ashwata tree and what it symbolizes as and for humanity in terms of what they do. And when we look at just a little bit of the ecology of trees, they affect everything in life except fire. They send out signals, they have ears, they listen to the hertz within the ground, similar to how the elephants communicate. When their leaves are being destroyed, they send out signals into the atmosphere, which then subsequently warn the other trees and at the same time release certain toxins such that all of the trees in the surrounding area get the message, such that the insects cannot disturb the equilibrium that exists there. And the bigger trees shelter the little trees and hold back their growth until their time is over, when they then allow the sunlight in. They are regulators. They photosynthesize. And so when I think about the universal function of something as simple as a tree, and I think about that Ashwata tree and or the Banyan tree, I mean, all of it reaps of universal interconnectedness, interdependence. And that is the only keynote that the Chauhans allegedly said in the Mahatma letters that they cared about. Universal solidarity of life, period. And so, whether from a practical perspective, whether from a medical, physical perspective, whether from a spiritual perspective, it's all the same thing. How does this get up and running, especially if today is a day that we need it the most, and tomorrow will be a day that we need it the most, and yesterday was the day that we needed it the most? I mean, always, a little statement from Jesus Christ when they were putting oil on his feet, and one of the disciples said, "Why are you allowing them to waste precious oil on your feet?" And his response was, "I will be gone soon. This will be here always." And the wisdom that Theosophy embodies, especially as April said, in the United States today, I mean, that's stuff that could get banned. That's stuff that's too dangerous. It's too
Oh, yeah.
powerful. It's too independent. It
Right.
allows for too much deep understanding and can provide the fiber for revolution.
Right.
And I don't mean fighting revolution, but that Arjuna type of revolution, which would strip down any so-called pseudo-government around the world.
Mhm.
And so the question is, how do we really awaken that Buddhi Manas of that human tree? You know, just those thoughts that popped up as everyone is sharing.
Yeah. Just to piggyback.
Well, I have to,
what
yeah, and I have to
Jean
add that that's beautiful, Jean, that we have to work on ourselves, number one. Our practice, how we live, how we relate, inner and outer. Tim, I use your little book on wisdom
Ah,
with people who want to know more about it. I think it's a great little introduction, by the way, to people who want to know about the ancient wisdom. So thank you for writing it. And that's what we do is somebody comes and gets interested in something in our group. And I have a caregiver and we've been reading the chapters together. So however we can spread it, however we can think of integrating these things in ourselves, and then the moment comes up where you can relate it. It can be on the spot. That's to me, we got to start with ourselves and then be aware of the moment and what's needed and respond.
Thank you, April. Tim, you were about to respond.
I was
thought.
just briefly, just to jump in, just to say this is the thing that, I mean, really, this is the point of it. What can I do? Begins with, I guess, what can
Right.
I do?
Right.
And then once we start to see those possibilities, then it links us. And so that's the way that it has worked. So what is it that we can, in times such as this, and, if we think about the cycles of world history that we have been through, you regard this as a cycle, they all change, they all pass, but, it can be a little bit tricky while you're there. It's something that, you have to bring something to this moment. And what is the way in which we can help to serve humanity at its deepest levels of need? And that's what we each have to determine, because what we can really see, how deeply we can see, varies. It varies for all of us, but we all do know at some level that we're all connected. And the thing we talk of as soul or spirit or even as nature or even as a tree, we're involved in that same network just like everything else is. And so that's something where we can have and do have input, but it's about being a little bit more conscious about how we exercise that, from moment to moment. It's more focused, I think, when we have gatherings just like this, where there is a point that we all come together to look into. And then it's a matter of radiating it beyond that moment. And so that's where this thing of practice, this thing of thought, this thing of interaction is always an important component.
Thank you, Tim, very much. Ken, do you have anything on that? I have some things, and well,
I think just on it's challenging, especially in a challenging time. Well, it's true that there are many outer challenges. The inner ones are much greater, and we can lose sight of those by getting distracted by dramatic events as well. So keeping that view where we do maintain, as April was saying, our own inner work, we have to subdue and harmonize our inner demons. The story of Milarepa, he feeds the demons come to bother him on his retreat. He doesn't know what to do. Of course, they're of his own. They're coming from inside of him. But he finally goes, I can serve them tea. So he serves them tea, and every time he serves one tea, it bursts into light. And he's thinking, this is going very nicely, And then this enormous demon comes after a little while, after he thought everything was solved, It's much bigger than he is. So, so these inner problems are bigger than we are. And this huge demon is there with a huge mouth. He's in his cave. And so what do? He bows to the demon and he puts his head inside the demon's mouth. And the demon bursts into light. So this is a time like that. We have to really embrace the, we have to subdue realize the inner demons and the outer demons are really the same, and we have to really, go to the essence.
Thank you. Okay, because Jean mentioned the part about the upside down banyan tree, and its roots are actually grounded in the unmanifest. And so the ideation of the Mahatmas, at least according to HPB, is grounded in what we would call the unmanifest. To them, it's reality because they can realize, the macrocosm and so forth. But so it just seems like this importance of that ideas rule the world, and that's a Plato idea and Emersonian idea. That this work on the plane of ideas in terms of trusteeship for the future is partially an answer to Jean's question, I think.
This is more of a comment when you were just discussing the banyan tree as a kind of a center of communal visualization. I thought it reminded me of the description of Concord Grove Press, which I will put in the chat, that was written by Raghavan Iyer, and it's so beautiful. I thought I would just share it with people.
Could you read it out?
Oh, sure. And I'll put it in the chat. So Concord Grove Press, which might be the Banyan bookstore also, makes readily available in a distinctive format seminal texts of lasting value, including new renditions of sacred scriptures from the world's major spiritual traditions, contributions to philosophic and literary thought, and reprints of classic works. Linking the mystical and practical, the timeless and the timely, these works explore the relevance of ancient thought to daily life and to contemporary social structures and future possibilities. These beautifully printed volumes invite the reader to rethink and renew a vital sense of participation in the global inheritance of humanity and the emerging cosmopolis.
Thank you, Ken. That is a lot like the banyan tree.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Is it Morton? Marion, I'm sorry.
Marion Brown. It's Marion Brown.
Yes.
Hi, Marion.
Hello.
Hi, Marion.
Hi. Thank you. It's just been an amazing discussion and panel. I just wanted to. I too was very moved kind of almost, pretty much to tears listening to the video of, especially how the description of what it meant to him as a child, the banyan tree, and then the fire and how the banyan tree wasn't able to run. But yeah, that was too much. Yeah, but I wanted that leads me to my trying to find something positive in this, not just to, of course, all the help that's poured out to save the banyan tree, because as Jean Jennings pointed out, the banyan tree doesn't have that ability like so many, pines, giant sequoias, so many other redwoods to live through or to regrow, to survive. It doesn't have that biology, and so um, it seems as though the banyan tree is kind of a symbol of like how much we are. There's so many banyan trees everywhere in a metaphorical sense that it may have been given up for. It could have been given up for dead, but because people, this person, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, who made the video, it meant so much to him, and he had kind of an inner calling, and he was able to kind of almost hear that from the banyan tree, and I think that throughout every day we pass so many types of banyan tree situations where maybe the it's not obvious that there's still life in something or something that needs help, but that somehow we connect to it and we take the time to investigate and kind of apply the principles of spirituality, brotherhood, and bring life back where we thought it was gone. Anyway, that's all.
Wow, that is beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got who's this one?
No, maybe invite from our audience in the room here.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
quiet.
that's right, from the audience in the room. So,
Jacques has his hand up.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, go ahead. I got to get my glasses on here.
Doc,
Yeah.
you're muted.
Oh,
Doc.
okay.
Oh, yeah, from France. There you are.
Oh, Jacques.
What time is it there?
Greetings from France in the middle of the night. Very interesting gathering. I just come back to the Jean statement at the beginning, saying that the magic of the movement is the freedom to express ourselves and to develop ourselves. I would just add that it is also the biggest risk, because if we look at the history of all our movement, we can see that they can depart from there. But there is a very good resilience, because 150 years ago, we are still there. So just going forward, what I would like to share is that my 50 years of experience in the movement tell me that we may want to go more outside. We are maybe a little bit too comfortable inside our fortress. And if we want to really spread the theosophy, we probably need to be ready to be more outside of the community, going to the people. And we do it, of course, when Madame Besant created the TOS in 1908, it was on purpose, in order to not only think and talk, but do something.
Thank you very much. Do something already.
Do something already. I think just as a comment on top of that was Dalai Lama at a conference not that long ago, a big religious interfaith conference. And then at the end of the conference, he says, okay, now we've talked enough. Now go home and do something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and out of the box, and again, really take the effort to look at these, sometimes theosophical ideas are stuck in 19th century language, and it needs to be revitalized into current dialogues and with current innovative authors and speakers who are really speaking the same language, but maybe not the same specific tradition. This is really important right now.
Can we?
Donovan,
go ahead, Kat.
I have to go. So thank you so much, and blessings on your new endeavor for sure. And I'll see many of you as we go along.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Take care.
Can I just make a comment, and in part based on many of the things that have been said, but on the one hand, when we work with Theosophy within groups, within lodges, etc., as Jacques suggests, we're not going outside. But an interesting reality has occurred over the last 150 years, is that somehow the ideas have gone outside. Yep. And they have permeated societies and continents. And perhaps really the question is, are there enough Theosophists, whatever that means, to recognize the ideas as they are currently embodied in the sciences, in engineering, in biology, in cultural elements, in religions, in spiritual paths, and cull out the essence of that? I mean, I tried to do something like that with AI, and it doesn't have the guts. It gives you, yeah, you know, that the guts are the inside, and it provides you with information, but it cannot make those correlations. And so a relatively real theosophist that has been trained in the study of the objects and the fundamentals should be able to talk that universal language. And so the ideas have been put out there. The question is, do we have enough universal language students to connect the dots and to demonstrate that not only has the secret doctrine been proven already, but all of the ideas from ancient wisdom, as well as pointing to modern trans-text civilizations, are already present. And they have been evident and seated in those theosophical teachings. So, in a sense, whether, you know, for myself or for anyone else, that's a challenge that's extremely practical, that everyone can engage in wherever they are, in whatever conversation they're having, simply by, as Ken suggested, but with a twist, not using the old terminology, but understanding the ideology and expressing it in any vocabulary that it needs to be expressed in. That's the second object.
Yep.
And that's those interconnecting roots of every tree and every people and mythology and symbology and everything else.
Laura, I think we are just a little bit past our time. Thank you, Jean. Laura, do you have just a finishing comment? And you're the last
just
word.
thinking it's so true what Jean has just expressed to us, that we have to speak the different languages of the people around us. I think that's the reason why we have the comparative study. But the other thing is, too, is, you know, if having been in the same lodge for over 50, 60 years, if everyone who came to all the meetings throughout those 60 years were to come to the lodge tomorrow, we'd have to rent a stadium. You know, that's how many people came. And so all those people took something of theosophy out into the world with them.
Yep. Thank you very much for that very positive message. Thank you very much. Please join us for the Aquarian series meetings in about 20 minutes. So we got to get set up for that. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, panel. Thank you, everybody, for participating.
Bye, April. Bye, Jean.